Hello everyone, Stormer1 here. Today we'll be talking about the potential for a significant outbreak of severe weather that will be occurring across a large chunk of Kentucky as we go into Sunday and into Sunday night. We're going to get started with satellite imagery today across the state. It's been a very nice day. We had a few isolated showers to start for your Friday, and now we got some increase in cloud cover across western portions of Kentucky out there, and those clouds will continue to increase for the next several hours. But despite the cloud cover, it's been pretty warm. If you look at the current air temperatures across the state, it's generally in the upper 70s to low 80s out there. So it is a very nice day. It's also been breezy today. Peak wind gusts today for most areas have been anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour, with a couple of gusts exceeding 35 miles an hour in a couple of different places. Let's check out the storm prediction or outlook for today. We got two major risk areas. Got one for portions of Texas, Louisiana, and another one that stretches from Nebraska all the way up towards Wisconsin. Pretty low tornado risk down towards the south. Damaging winds and hail could be possible. Nothing here for Kentucky. Day 2, which is tomorrow, we got a slight risk for parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Main hazard of those would be damaging winds and large hail out there, and there can also be some significant hail out there as well. And then by day 3, which is Sunday, got a large enhanced risk area, which includes a good chunk of the Ohio Valley in the Mississippi River Valley as well. And here's a closer look on that enhanced risk, and you see that enhanced risk does include most of central and all of western Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky, most of it anyway, is in a slight risk, with a couple of counties in far southeastern Kentucky. Pike County down into Harlan County is in that marginal risk area. But everybody in the state of Kentucky has an opportunity to see severe weather Sunday into Sunday night. And here's the probability outlook. Areas in the enhanced risk has a 30% chance of seeing some type of severe storm. But that hatched area, that black dashed line, is the potential for significant severe weather, which could be potential for damaged winds up around 75 miles an hour, hail that could be larger than 2 inches in diameter, and then a couple of strong tornadoes could be on the table, and those are the areas in the hatched area, which would include places like Lexington, Louisville, Frankfort, Bowling Green, up into the tri-state area of Cincinnati, and all across western Kentucky through Paducah. So a lot of real estate of Kentucky has potential to see significant severe weather. Severe weather risk is a little bit lower in eastern Kentucky, but definitely not zero. But that severe weather risk can certainly linger into Monday morning across eastern Kentucky. And you see by the day 4 outlook, we do have a slight risk that is out there across eastern Kentucky. And here's the bigger view of that slight risk. And you can see how big the slight risk really is. It includes a very large chunk of the East Coast. It goes through the Mid-Atlantic, all the way up towards Boston, and all the way down towards the Deep South, and portions of, down towards New Orleans, and even down to the Panhandle of Florida. And that is over 100 million people within that slight risk. So that is a big, big slight risk area that is out there. And there's another system that looks to come in on Wednesday, and here we go. Another slight risk for your Wednesday, and that does include parts of Kentucky. And here's a closer view of it, and it includes basically all of central and western Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is not included. I'm not going to get into specifics on Wednesday because it's still several days out. Plus, we got Sunday to talk about, so we got to get through Sunday first before we get into Wednesday. But Wednesday may have potential for all modes of severe weather as well, but we'll be keeping an eye on that as we get closer. Not only there could be a good amount of severe weather, but there can also be quite a bit of rain. This is rainfall for the next 7 days, and you can see here statewide it's anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain. So not only we got a lot of severe weather, got quite a bit of rain on the way as well, which could lead to some localized flooding issues, maybe even on Sunday, in that other risk for Wednesday. So let's check out the European model. This has been the most consistent model with this system. So we're going to continue to use this model probably until tomorrow. By tomorrow, we'll get more mesoscale models in range, and we can get a better idea of what Sunday could look like by that point. So really for most of your Friday, looks pretty good. But as we get into Saturday, we're going to notice here we got an area of showers moving into western Kentucky here. And if we can get a closer look here in Kentucky, you see those showers here moving across western Kentucky during the afternoon hours on Saturday, and eventually moving into central and eastern Kentucky, even going into Sunday morning. And there may be a couple of storms mixed in there, but those showers and storms I'm not really concerned about out there. And if we go back to the national wide view here as we get into Saturday night, and which by the way Saturday, in terms of temperatures, it's going to feel pretty nice out there. Still got temperatures in the 70s out there. But as we get into Saturday night, we start to see our storm system off to the west. Got a strong surface low moving across Iowa. Sunday morning, that's eventually going to move into Wisconsin, eventually to Michigan. But then, as we get into peak time heating on Sunday, which would be Sunday afternoon into the evening, European model suggests we may got some storms moving from the northwest. Now, this model in particular does not do a good job with reflectivity, so take this as a grain of salt. But what's also going to be important to mention is that it tries to form a secondary low that may originate in St. Louis and may go through Indianapolis, and you can kind of see it goes up towards Ontario or near Lake Erie up there as you get into Sunday morning. That's going to be something else to watch, is how strong that secondary surface low is going to get, because that can also have a big impact of how Sunday's severe weather risk is going to go. So let's kind of get a little more specific here. In terms of the timing with this here, it's looking to be, if you're in western Kentucky, it may start during the afternoon, and it may go through the evening, and maybe into portions of the overnight hours. Across central Kentucky, timing is still a bit of uncertain out here. It really depends on if we have storms that forms out ahead of the main cold front. If that does happen, that can mean an earlier arrival in storms, which can also increase the potential for significant severe weather. An early arrival of storms can increase the threat for all modes, especially for the hail and the tornado risk out there. And you can see here, by the European model, it has it getting out of here by Monday morning, based off of the European model. And it's got storms moving across eastern Kentucky through Monday morning as well. So western Kentucky, talking about late afternoon through the evening, and then by central, as it gets into central Kentucky, maybe as early as the evening, going through the overnight hours, and in eastern Kentucky, overnight hours into Monday morning. Seems to be the general timing, and that could change as we get closer here, but that looks to be the ideal timing for now. I can't give exact numbers right now. It's still a little bit early. But let's talk about the ingredients for severe weather. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar winds. And you can see here, based off the European model, there's a decent amount of wind energy out there. We got the short wave that's just off to our northwest. Got a little bit of a dip with the trough, going across St. Louis. Somewhere up in there is where we may see a surface low develop, or a secondary surface low, which can help enhance the severe weather potential in the warm sector. We also got, plenty of wind energy going across Kentucky here. At 500 millibars, you got winds north of 50 knots, even getting up as high as 65 knots. So there's plenty of wind energy in the atmosphere, or in other words, there's plenty of wind shear to work with. So you got one of your ingredients in place. But this can also help increase the amount of lift in the atmosphere. So basically, we got the lift and we got the wind shear for this system here. And we can go a little bit lower in the atmosphere and go to 850 millibars. This is where the low of a jet is going to be. Now, as we go through Sunday afternoon, the winds are not impressive. They're really not. We may have some stronger winds on going eastern Kentucky, but the area will be focused on closely, Sunday afternoon, which would be in this area in here. Let me do a better job on highlighting this. So somewhere in here, Sunday afternoon, we're probably going to see some thunderstorms initiate. somewhere in this red area. By that point, the winds are not going to be that impressive, 850 millibars. However, as you get into Sunday evening, okay, now the winds start to increase across Kentucky. Now we got winds 30 to 40 plus knots. That would be strong enough to support some severe weather. It's not the most not the strongest winds you ever see at the low jet region, but it's strong, just strong enough. But then as you get to past midnight, now you got some stronger low jet winds coming in. Now you get winds up around 50 knots, and now it's moderate shear, and that can really help support these thunderstorms as they roll through Kentucky. So basically, your wind energy is going to increase as you go for the evening into the overnight hours. At the same time, that instability it's going to try to wane, but it's not going to wane very quickly because of those dew points. When you look at the dew points out there, for Sunday, this is Sunday afternoon, and ideally for severe weather, you want dew points, north of 60. You can see here most of Kentucky is north of 60. Mid-60 dew points is even better. And if we see dew points get into mid-60s, especially into the upper 60s, then we're going to have some problems, because that's going to lead to moderate instability, which is something we haven't seen so far this year when it comes to severe weather. We really haven't seen moderate instability. And if I want to be more specific, instability that could be anywhere from 1,000 to maybe up around 2,500 joules per kilogram. That's more than enough to support severe weather. If you get instability north of 2,000, that can really help support the threat for severe weather. And as we get into Sunday night here, now the European model says there's going to be storms rolling through in this area, which is why you see, dew points in the upper 50s. But areas that don't see storms, like down across southern Kentucky, you still got dew points that are in the low 60s out there. So with these dew points maintaining in the low 60s, it's going to help keep the atmosphere unstable, especially at the surface. Now, as you go through, during the overnight hours, the storms are going to try to become more elevated, which means the hail risk goes up, but the tornado risk starts to die down. But with these 60 plus dew points, it may be pretty difficult for those storms to be elevated. The best chance of these storms being elevated would be in eastern Kentucky, where we have lower instability, but storms will definitely struggle to become elevated when it comes across central Kentucky. And I think when the storms do come across central Kentucky, I think they'll still be surface-based. So you'll still have that damage, wind, and tornado risk out there. Overall, there's actually one more ingredient I want to talk about. We have to move on to a different model. And I'm not the biggest fan of the NAM. I'm really not. It's not been a very good model when it comes to severe weather, so far this year, but just for the sake of it, we'll look at it. And I'm sure it's similar to the European model when we're talking about this. So this is something we call mid-level lap rates. In other words, this is a way to look in the elevated mix layer. Elevated mix layer is drier air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It can help increase the hail risk, but it can also help increase the amount of instability in the atmosphere. So, and really, ideally, north of 7 degrees is pretty favorable. And you can see here as we go through, peak time heating on Sunday, you can see across central western Kentucky it's north of 7. So, we got favorable mid-level lap rates. And you can see how it even continues into the overnight hours. So that's going to help, keep instability elevated as we go through the overnight hours. So that's going to be a bit of a problem here. But it's also going to help increase that risk for large hail. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns with this setup, is that this severe weather setup is very conducive for some large hail. And I can allow some significant hail as well. And when we're talking about significant hail, that could be hail anywhere from golf balls to potentially up to baseballs. The strong tornado risk, we're still trying to iron that out. That really depends on if we can get storms that develop out ahead the line of storms. If we do get supercells out there, it ramps up your very large hail risk. You could probably see hail the size of baseballs in some of those supercells. Plus, the strong tornado risk is there, which tornadoes that could be EF2 or stronger. Of course, damage and winds do dominate as well, especially if the thunderstorms turn more linear could be talking about numerous to potentially widespread damage wind gusts, which could be anywhere from 60 to maybe upwards of 75 miles an hour. So it's going to be very important to stay weather aware Sunday into Sunday night and make sure you have multiple ways to get warnings, because this looks like this is not only going to be a potentially significant event, but it could be widespread as well. If we go back to the SPC Outlook, you can see how big this risk area really is. It covers a lot of states. And when details become more clear, it would not surprise me if we see a moderate risk upgrade, probably somewhere in this area in here. But that's all going to depend on mesoscale details, which we'll have a better idea on those mesoscale details tomorrow or at as late as Sunday morning. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys got any questions, you put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.